So then every piece of content you do should tie towards your point of view or really advocate for that point of view, right, Kev? And I think if you do that, it will more naturally flow to make your product or service the logical conclusion of what you're talking about. And I think that's something we try and do here on the B2B playbook, right? Is we come in, we share our 5Bs framework. That's our unique point of view on really what marketing should be and what a good go-to-market strategy should be. And we go into detail about it. We reframe it and talk about it at the top of every single episode. And we've done that for over 200 episodes now. Once we do that and tie it to that, the logical conclusion is, and guess what? If you need some more structure and clarity around executing this in your business, well, we've got a few options for you. We've got our agency, that's a more hands-on way of doing it with you, and our incubator, which is a way that you can upskill to learn how to champion this internally at your organization and be the hero that you deserve to be. So it becomes the natural conclusion. But if Kevin and I just started every episode trying to sell you the kitchen sink with what we do, then you probably wouldn't trust us. And what are we even really selling you that's different to other people out there? So we do as much as possible try and have a unique point of view, and naturally that should extend into your product or service as the logical conclusion. We are not out there, Kevin, sharing really the latest AI hack for marketing, are we? It just doesn't make sense for us to do that.
No, we're not. We do talk about obviously AI and how it impacts our workflows and everything, but only where it's relevant for especially those small B2B marketing teams that are trying to do a lot of things with very little resource. Obviously, AI is a great tool to have in the box, but again, it's just that one tool in the box, and there's plenty of other things you can focus on. As George said, the core principle here is that your content really should make your product a logical conclusion. The only caveat is, not every content or piece of content needs to exist to prove your exact point of view. Your product is the only it's sort of like solution to everything, and that you need to take commercial action off the back of it after reading this piece of content. We did talk about that you can create content to solve other problems or ancillary problems for your audience. And so for your customers, for your potential customers, if you're solving an ancillary problem that's maybe not directly related to the products that you have, that's not necessarily a bad thing, because again, it builds that trust. It still ties into that strategy that we talk about, because it's still building that brand reputation into your business so that they will trust you when they see that piece of content that actually does talk about your point of view and why. If you hold that point of view, if you hold that belief, the natural commercial reaction when the time is right is to purchase or work with that particular business. So in that context, that's probably the only caveat we have of when a piece of content exists, not only to prove your point of view, but that's probably the only caveat that comes to mind.
Even then, Kev, that caveat, I would say, when we talk about solving an ancillary problem, it's still normally tied back to their jobs to be done as well. So what is the actual job of that person who's the key champion for your product or service? What things do they need to get done right now that you can help them with? That still does in some way, shape, or form sort of tie to what you might help them with later on. Easy example would be what HubSpot did with a lot of their certifications, helping marketers to upskill, helping people upskill in their jobs, like to make more out of their own content or CRMs or whatever it is that HubSpot helps you with. That is a great thing for a marketer to be able to upskill in, to do better, to do like their content better, which might be part of their job. And then guess what? When you're coming to evaluating your current CRM, HubSpot is, of course, going to be on your list because they've directly helped you. It still is somewhat tied to, I think, Kevin, what it is that they really solve for that customer too. So we don't want to do content for content's sake. Try and connect it, if you can, back to your solution. Should we go through the point of view exercise, Kevin, that we actually normally use in our B2B incubator and share it with people?
Yeah, definitely, George. So now that you kind of understood why 90% of B2B content fails and why you should try and fix or anchor your content to your point of view, let's talk about the point of view exercise on how to practically make that happen. Your point of view really gives depth to your messaging. It frames you as a strategic partner or advisor rather than just a vendor or another option in the market. And we tend to use the following 3-part formula to define it. So the first one is to question, what belief or assumptions do you challenge? For example, the marketing's primary job is to generate MQLs for sales. That's something we fundamentally challenge with our 5Bs framework. We really think marketing should own a lot more than that, should be accountable for revenue, and should build a sustainable system to generate that revenue in the long term. That includes working closely and aligning with the sales team, not just to pass on MQLs. What is the definition of an MQL? Does sales actually find any value from these MQLs, and is it ultimately helping your business to grow? And those are the sort of questions we'd rather want you to challenge with the 5Bs framework and the B2B podcast and the B2B playbook. So that is an example of how you should define the belief or assumption that you want to challenge. And then the second part, we want to say, okay, well, that's what you want to challenge. What is a new belief or insight that you want to promote instead? And again, in the B2B playbooks example, marketing, the one that we've gone for, the belief that we want to promote is that marketing should shape demand by earning trust early and supporting the full buying journey, and ultimately be accountable for revenue and growth in the business. We shouldn't just go after vanity metrics. So providing that sort of clear belief and insight into what you want to propose and keeping that top of mind, and what you want to promote and keeping that top of mind when you come to building your content, that is really going to help. And finally, part 3 is, why does this even matter to your ICP right now? Because that might all be well and good, but if it's not relevant to your ICP, they don't really care. And particularly, there's a time element to this. So for example, in the B2B playbook case, often what we see as a category entry point is that there's a lot of small teams in marketing. They really can't afford to waste resources chasing leads that won't convert, and they're starting to get, or they have suffered a lot of the pain that comes with that, where they're chasing MQLs. The sales team are on them for pushing across poor quality MQLs. The leadership team are on them for not having a sense of trust in what they're doing, and making them and viewing them just as the make it pretty department, or is really putting a lot of pressure to drive those MQLs that the sales are not happy with. So those are the kind of things that could be potential category entry points for us on the B2B playbook. And generally it stems from the fact that there's a small marketing team, maybe even one person, who really can't afford to waste any resources, and they're already struggling with the workload as is.
A quick note before you go, listeners, you can find more great content and get in touch with us at theb2bplaybook.com.
Be sure to subscribe to this podcast and our newsletter while you're there to get the latest news, tips, and resources from our playbook.
We'll be back the same day and same time with another episode next week.
Thanks for tuning in to the B2B Playbook. Remember, successful B2B marketing starts with the buyer.